Hello everyone and welcome to my podcast. I've been teaching law for the last 30 years and I would like to share with you some experiences on topics such as writing and doing research in English, such as teaching abroad, and such as also how to introduce art in the classroom. Welcome all of you to the English season of my podcast called I Teach It My Way.
Hi everyone, welcome to I Teach It My Way by Santi. So usually this podcast is set in Argentina, but today we're going to have it here in Kenya, in Strathmore University. Good afternoon, Santi.
Good afternoon, Tracy. Good afternoon, Asia.
Welcome to Kenya.
Asante sana.
Now, the first question we want to know is, what was your experience first teaching in Kenya? What were your expectations vis-a-vis the reality, and how was your first experience here?
First, let me share with you how happy I am to be shooting the final episode of this podcast in Africa, more especially in Kenya and in Strathmore. That is holds an important place in my heart. I came for the first time 10 years ago this year, and I was then teaching the first group of students for Strathmore Law School that became known as the Pioneers. And I decided to try with them an experiment, which was to teach them all 4 years of law school. I taught them when they were in first year, when they were in second, when they were in third, and when they were in fourth, different units. And we got to know each other very well. We got to love each other and to hate each other very much. I have very fond memories, and I keep in touch with so many of those guys.
Okay, great. So we hear about Santi very often. Maybe tell us a bit more about that and the Lisa Buendia.
Santi, but as in Santea?
Yes.
I see. Santi. As someone said to me back then, tea with Santi.
Yes.
Santi. Well, because after that pioneer experience, I would teach students in first and fourth year, introduction to law in first year, and law and religion in fourth year. I decided to open a forum once a week in the evenings, always for the month or month and a half or so I'm in Kenya each year. You know, most of the year I'm not here. I remember a student asking me one day if other than English, I spoke any other language. The person didn't even understand that I lived in Argentina, a Spanish-speaking country, but that's the case. So Santi was this evening forum of meetings where we had tea with students of second and third year, so that, as I said jokingly, they wouldn't miss me too much between first and fourth, but truly it was I who missed them. Mm-hmm. So we met in the evenings once a week, typically on Wednesdays, to talk in theory about academic matters. Sometimes we had like 30, sometimes 15. The other day there were 11.
Okay. So in the process of talking about teaching, let's rethink the idea of a classroom. When we talk of a classroom, what's your ideal setup of a classroom? And if not a classroom, what's your ideal setup of teaching?
What do you mean by setup?
In what environment?
Like what? What are the possibilities?
It could be in a classroom, it could be in a garden. It could be at benches.
Yes, I have my benches, as you know, where I spend a lot of time talking to students. But, classroom, garden. I remember one time, not long ago, the first day of class, I arrived in the classroom and it was taken by someone. So there was panic. Where do we go? These were first year students, 80 of them. And I said, let's go to the garden. And it's the same. You just need to shout a bit more.
Okay. Now, Santi, we've grown very fond of you as our professor. And we want you to tell us a little bit about what's the importance of making friends with your students if it's even important for a lecturer to do so, and what is the greatest lesson you've learned from your students, at least this far?
Well, thank you for the first thing you said. I don't know about all lecturers, but for me it is important. Students are an important part of my life. I'm friends with students who are almost my age, who were my students 25 years ago. And then there are others who were my students last year. Of course, the friendship is different in one case, in the other case. Friendships vary. A friendship with a boy is different generally from the friendship with a girl. Do I learn from them? A student, one of the first students I had, this was in Argentina, read my memoir of travels to Kenya, and she said to me, it's amazing how in that book you talk about the impact that students made in your life, like particular students. From this one, you learned this, from this other one, you learned that. You should tell them one day. So now I tell them in this podcast that I'm so grateful for having shared experiences, some of them terrible, some beautiful, that have helped me grow and go farther than I would with my own limited life.
Lovely. So maybe the next question I would pose to you is, you're very famous in Strathmore for two things in particular. So I'm going to talk about the Sweet 16 and the farewell parties.
Not Coke Zero?
Not necessarily. So within those two, what exactly is so important to you about having the Sweet 16, the farewell parties? What exactly do you cherish about those memories for you to actually have them every year?
I hope you will not find this too selfish, but one of the main reasons I do this is because I always have videos produced of them. And when I'm a little bit sad, I watch those videos and they cheer me up. To see those people with their posters in the Sweet 16 and the artists singing in honor of the people who draw, whoa, it's like moves me. Or what was the other one? Oh, the farewell parties. Imagine I have videos for so many farewell parties in my YouTube channel. And sometimes even I promote the parties as I like them so much. My favorite one is one that included a production by Abdul, a student maybe 3-4 years ago. That is a short 4-minute video where each student in first year would hold in his or her hands a small note saying something to me by way of farewell. And I feel so privileged to have not only those memories, but those videos.
That's really nice and very
Even
touching.
you are in one of them. And you're amazing. You remember with your long ponytail, swinging it.
Was I really swinging?
Kind of.
Okay, so I think this is more, I'll ask it this way. When you came in July, particularly, I'm sure to find you in Strathmore every July. So I knew exactly where to find you when I came into the school. And that's something I think all your students are aware. So what exactly is the story behind your benches and the spots that we seem to always know where to find you?
You know, this year, the staff told me, we have an office for you. And I said, it's okay, I have my own office already. They said, what? Yes, let me show you. So I took the person to my benches. She was very disappointed. I'm not sure how it started, but I have this idea of the birds. Have I ever told you about the birds?
No.
The birds, the little birds, not that the students are birds, but it's a metaphor. The birds, they know if you leave them little crumbs of bread or something, then the following day they'll come to get their crumbs. So saving the differences, that's a bit the idea, that people will know that I'm there for them, that if I'm there, it means that I have time, that I can be interrupted. And in fact, I'm delighted. I'm not there all day, but that's part of my work. I could say to you, I'm not there all day because I work, but that's also part of my work, to be there.
Okay. The next thing I want to know is how do you navigate cultural difference when you're teaching in different states? We know you've taught in the US, and I want you to tell us, particularly in Kenya, how you navigate discussions on cultural difference in and out of class.
Before I answer your question, and as my answer will be very disappointing, I'm sure, I remembered something about the previous question. There was a student in the pioneer class, Yvonne Wanza, that when I was teaching the pioneers for the first time, she was maybe 18 years old, I said in class that I would be happy to offer office hours, although I didn't have an office. And when I finished that class, 20 people wanted to talk to me in office hours. That's how I went to the benches. And the first one was with Yvonne. She was like the pioneer of the pioneers. Now, to your other question, I don't navigate the cultural differences. I'm always the same everywhere. Okay. I told you it would be disappointing. Short and sweet.
I want to know how you deal with disappointments, be it in people, like in someone or in something, but how exactly do you deal with it?
Well, my ideal answer to that question is I cry. But lately I found a great difficulty to produce tears and cry. But my recommendation is cry. Cry. Like they said to Kawira, Nella, one of the students in the pioneer class, when I left, others would sing to her, "No, Nella, don't cry," because I was leaving. But I have no idea how to deal with disappointments. I'm hit and hurt every single time. So you need to ask someone else. Someone was saying to me the other day, "I'm sure you will know how to handle with such a disappointment." And I replied, "I'm sure I won't know how to handle that disappointment." May I?
Yes.
This reminds me of something Jean Makaka said to me one time. She said, "What I like of you is that you are real."
That's very true. Anybody who knows you at least knows that
that
one
real.
thing.
Now I know too. You see, I learned it thanks to my Kenyan students who told me, "Santi, you are real." Now I know.
I think this is more personal. So I want you to tell us about your love for animals and safaris. In addition, is it true that you have a safari company in Kenya?
Like Santi Limited. Well, yes, I love the animals. I love the wildlife. It's an important part of what I think about when I'm preparing a trip to Kenya every year. When I started coming, it was clearly first, but now I must say that persons are first. I think that's like an evolution. Mm-hmm. There are so many persons I love in this country, and I want to see. I have my phone here. One of the students keeps my Kenyan line alive, and I have hundreds of numbers. It's a very small phone for former students, and when I arrive, I start calling. Then we meet with those who follow up in time for the short time I'm here. But the animals are still there. They were there ever since I was a little boy. I was in love with the animals ever since I was a boy. And my dream was always to go to Africa one day. But I never thought I would go. Then I went, then I came, and we're here now. And the first time when Strathmore invited me, they said that part of my pay would be a safari. I couldn't believe it. But I liked it so much that I needed more and more and more. So I started my company. That is, it's a small company. I write articles for clients who bring me in to a national park, to a reserve, to a conservancy. I stay at their lodge, hotel, whatever, and then I do a separate contract with the airplane company that flies me there, another one with the hot air balloon with which I fly there. I've done it 6 times thanks to this without paying. But then I need to work for them. I need to write, advertise with my candid view the place. Especially, I said airplane, I said balloon, but especially the lodge. Like my most recent trip was to Amboseli, and I did it for a lodge there called All Tukai, and then I need to tell what I see. There is a fantastic magazine called Suara here that has published a great part of my work, and I also work with a magazine in Argentina who is interested in African wildlife affairs. So I think I've done this now maybe around 20 times for 10 different companies. So I guess I have a solo safari company, yes.
Just maybe.
I have never got paid, and I don't want payment. I just want not to pay.
Mm-hmm. Just maybe an add-on. What future do you see for yourself in Kenya?
I don't know. I don't know, Asia. But I'm asked by people occasionally when they realize how many bonds and ties I have in this country. They ask me, why don't you stay, or would you stay? But I don't see myself staying here. And I also don't see myself not coming here. I like it the way it is, where once a year I disembark here for 1 month and a half, and then I disappear. Will I be able to sustain it? I don't know. Will I want to do it in the future? I also don't know. But right now, that's where I am. Delighted.
Okay, one fun little question. If you are to be an animal, now that you love animals so much, what animal would you be?
My goodness. I don't know. I mean, my favorite animal is the leopard, and now I've learned how to call the leopard not only in Swahili. You know how it's called in Swahili?
Yes. Chewy.
Chewy. But I learned the code word that the drivers have for chewy, and that's aju. You know what aju means?
No.
Aju means, maybe I'm mispronouncing it, up, because it's always in the trees. I guess I would go for the leopard, but only because it's my favorite.
Okay.
It's rare to see.
Very rare to see. Unlike me.
2 more questions for me.
Yes, please.
One, what do you think has been your greatest success when it comes to teaching in Kenya? And also your greatest disappointment or failure when it comes to teaching here?
These are the 2 questions?
Yes.
These are the 2 final questions?
No.
Okay. Okay, greatest success. I think unquestionably my greater success has been the rapport that I have with some of my students. I can lecture for 80 people. Some think I do it well, but I don't think that's my forte as a lecturer. I see myself as a micromanager. So I have some people, but there are quite a few I cater for. I try to serve them, and they are amazing with me too. So I think that's my greatest success, that there's a number of people here who are really happy when I come. Disappointments, as usual, I have to be frank with you. I've had so many disappointments in your country. My first disappointments had to do with things not working the way I expected. Mm-hmm. I am a very ordered person, as you perhaps know since you smile. And, you know, your country drives me literally crazy every day. I have also had more profound and hurtful, painful disappointments having to do with people who disappear or who have done to me things that are bad. But that's not unique to Kenya. That's happened to me everywhere, because if you approach your profession the way I do, where you put your heart on a table, for sure someone, maybe even unintentionally, will crush that heart. And that has happened to me here more than once. But Now I know that the first good part would never happen if at the same time the second part happens. They are part and parcel of teaching it my way.
Lovely. Do you think that teaching is your purpose?
No, I don't think teaching is my purpose. No, I don't know how I would define my purpose, but I hope it's a more ambitious one.
Okay, we look forward to seeing it.
Someday.
Lovely. Are there any more questions before I ask the final one? The last one is...
Yes, but wait, let me thank you so much for your presence here today and for your wonderful questions. And as now you ask me this one.
Anytime. What an honor to be here with you. And lastly, we want to know, will you ever be retiring from teaching? And if so, what would be your ideal place to retire?
Yes, I don't think I will retire from teaching, because for me, teaching is not only a job for which they pay me. That for sure I will lose it one day. But for me, teaching is, if not my purpose, it is like breathing. I do it even when I don't want to do it, I'm teaching. So I'll always be teaching. Ideal place. Oh, that I know for sure. My ideal place to live what might be my last years, because we never know which are our last years, is home, Argentina, where I live, where my family, most of my family lives, where I feel more comfortable. So like now in Naoribi, I feel quite comfortable. I can spend some time here, and I know places, I know where to go, where to eat, where to spend time, but it's not home. So ideal, Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Santi.
Yeah, maybe you should come one day. 21 Strathmore students have come. So,
yes, we hear about this Argentina trip. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about it.
Yes, some people come to do their attachment, their legal attachment at law firms there. And you might be the next two in the list. Who knows?
We hope so.
You know how it all started?
No.
With Vision Sifuma in the pioneer class writing to me and saying, Prof, can you think of a place in the world where I could go to do my legal attachment? And I answered, no, I really don't know. The only one I know is Argentina, but I was assuming that for her, Argentina wasn't in her list.
Yes.
And she said, I was hoping you would say, I want to go. And she came.
Oh, lovely. And she got an opportunity to work in a law firm.
Yes, she and another student, Doris Matu, and in subsequent years, every year, some students have come. This year, 4.
Lovely.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for following us.
Bye.